In a previous video, I designed a jack-o'-lantern pin. In this one, I'll show you exporting it to the slicer and getting it ready for printing. Then I'll show you a few useful revisions done the easy way. The first step is to get our model ready to be exported as a step file. I'll start by renaming the chamfer on the stem to stem face chamfered. I'll be printing the sub-objects serially, doing a manual filament swap between objects. The backing and the stem backing will be in the same filament. Due to limited clearance around the nozzle, if it tries to print the backing and then the stem backing, there will be a nozzle collision. To avoid that, select Backing, Stem Backing, and Fuse. Rename the fusion to Base. Now base will be printed all together, layer by layer, without collision. The face and the stem face can print serially without collision. Now for the export. Select Stem Face Chamfered, Face, and Base, and go to File, Export. Export it as jackpin1.step. Take the defaults for the step file options. Now to slice it for printing. I should note that I'm going to be slicing this with my patched Prusaslicer 2.7.4-4-axis-1 because the anti-gravity effect and conversion of any number of errors to mere warnings makes this vastly easier to print. If you really want to just use the stock slicer, you can more or less get away with it. Just leave out the stem face entirely and let it be glow in the dark instead. Set a color change above 2 mm so that you'll have the opportunity to print the orange face. You may want to insert a custom G-code at that point of M600. Import the step file. As you can see, we have the nice grouping over on the right. You may notice that it's tagged as sinking and that the base of the pin is underneath the bed. That's because we built the face of the jack-o'-lantern on the XY plane and extruded the base in the negative Z direction below that plane. Not a problem, just select Jack Pin 1 and click the Set on Build Plate icon over to the right of position. Because all of the parts are still associated as a single object, they will all rise together. Now that everything is placed as needed, right-click on Jack Pin 1 over away from the name and split two objects. This is giving us way more objects than we had hoped. Essentially, it's decided to divide the face up. So select jackpin 1_1 through jackpin 1_6, right-click and merge. In order to avoid nozzle collisions, we need to print the base first, then the face, then the stem face. So drag stem face chamfer down below merge so that it'll print in the correct order. I've decided to print mine in PETG using glow-in-the-dark filament as the base. Orange is the face, and green is the stem face. Since I'm printing glow-in-the-dark filament, I need a hardened steel nozzle. I'll select an appropriate profile for PETG with the steel nozzle. In Print Settings, Output Options, complete individual objects. In Printer Settings, Custom G-Code, Between Objects G-Code, include the M600 command to cause the filament change. That's a capital M. This will cause the firmware to go through the filament change routine between the objects, letting me put the appropriate filament in. If your printer supports multicolor, multi-material, such as the Prusa MMU or a Bamboo AMS, you should be able to just set the appropriate colors on the appropriate segments of the print and just let it go. But even if so, if your nozzle allows sufficient clearance, I would still suggest printing single object at a time to minimize the amount of purge waste, and to avoid setting a purge block. Since I don't have such a printer, I'll have to leave that up to you to figure out. Don't worry about all of the warnings generated. When I patched the slicer, I changed errors to warnings in case it needed to point out something that could potentially be problematic, but still allowing uploading or saving the G-code. In this case, there are no actual problems. Going through the print preview to the start of the stem face, I can give it a good look and verify that it'll have plenty of clearance to make that work without bumping the print with the nozzle. Now send it and print it using your usual workflow. Initially, I had intended to use a transparent orange filament to print the jack-o'-lantern face. Unfortunately, I am told there will be a shipping delay and I will not get it in time. I already have a nice roll of orange Polylite PETG, so I'll use that. But since the filament won't be transparent, it won't quite give me the right effect with the glow-in-the-dark backing. I want to at least be able to see the lines of the pumpkin in the dark. So I need some space between the lofts that form the face. Redesigning to leave more space between the lofts is way more complicated than I want to deal with. I could select lines in Sketch 001, create shape binders, offset them inward, then select the lines of the shape binder and create join curves for building the loft. But then I would also have to rebuild all of the sketches going through the center of the segments over the top to start and end where the new join curves come together. Otherwise, when I create the ruled surfaces underneath, they will not join up and form a watertight shell, which means that I can't turn them into a solid. What a pain. There is a more clever approach, though. If I simply sink the face down just a little bit into the backing, I get exactly the effect I want. But if I send it to the printer like this, I'm going to have nozzle collisions all over the place. Since I want one-step file that can print either way, I'm going to clone the face, lower the clone negative 0.33 millimeters on the z-axis. But to avoid collisions, I'll also clone the base, and I'll select the clone face, the clone base, and cut. Now with the face resting on the base rather than inside it, the nozzle conflicts go away. I won't belabor going through the slicer again. I'll just show you the end result. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video or found it useful, please like, subscribe, and share. If there's anything you'd like to see covered here, please let me know in the comments below.